Springboks against Wales, folks. 43 points to nil. It's another nilling for the Welsh up against the Boks. The Boks, I think, will be pretty happy with most areas of the game. Set piece was good. Scored easily the bonus point, but it did take until the second half. Defensively, very solid. You can't get better than 0, but they dropped a fair bit of ball. I think that's the one area they'll be a bit frustrated. They certainly left a heap of chances out there. If you're Wales, well, you won't be happy with the nilling, but you tackled enough times to reduce the amount of points conceded from like the 70 that you had end of last year to 40 odd. So yeah, it's kind of a strange one where both sides can take something positive out of that, and I think the Boks beat the predictions ever so slightly and managed to blood a bunch of new guys as well. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts. Obviously, I watched this one much delayed. I was up till 1 in the morning yesterday, finishing off the Aussies against the Italians game. Had a sleep, woke up and watched this one pretty much first thing over here in NZ. It seemed like a bit of a party atmosphere over in Durban. The crowd was absolutely loving it from start to finish, no matter what was happening on the field. The crowd seemed pretty well lubricated, and they had something to cheer about early. The Boks got themselves on the board. Jasper Wiese, after his brother had a big old carry, they were both on absolute fire early, were the Wiese lads. And Jasper, after Kobus, as I said, had a big old carry, they managed to get Jasper over the line. 4 minutes in, and this is looking pretty ominous for the Welsh lads. 7 points to nil. Very close to a Wiese double after Marks had won a turnover. But as Kobus had gone close to the line, popping the ball from the ground, they did knock the ball on, which was maybe an indication of things to come, because there were a lot of those kind of half chances that went a big in for the Boks in this one. Like, I think Joel Stransky said it in the comms that if it's one of those ones where every 50-50 pop ball had been taken, or even 3/4 of them, the Boks probably do put on 50, 60, maybe 70 points. But a lot of those tonight just didn't stick. This one they still managed to convert from anyway, because we had the scrum, and boy, was the scrum on the Welsh feed stupendous from the Bok pack. They obliterated the Welsh scrum. So they got themselves their own 5-metre scrum from which Reinach snipes and goes over. So we're 14 points to nil. And it's basically been impossible for the Welsh guys to even exit their own half. They could not escape. The scrum was basically just get the ball out as quick as possible when they were having a scrum on their own feed. And yeah, South Africa handling errors. That's the one. We'll get to that stat at the end, but they, as I said, they did blow quite a few chances. There were a few kicks for Wales, which meant they did briefly get themselves into the South African 22, but never really looked like scoring. Blair Murray, the Welsh fullback, must have been watching a bit of the old Football World Cup, because he had a wee hack with his left peg, trying to clear the ball as they were under pressure, but he didn't really get much on it. And that lack of a clearance, I guess, did kind of cost Wales before halftime, because there was one last bit of territorial pressure which the Boks looked to convert on. Moyo with the cross kick to Jaco Williams, the two debutants combining, and Creel there as the support man is able to go over for a try. So 19 points to nil at halftime. You probably could have had, well, as I said, you could have more. You could have more. I mean, you've never looked like conceding points if you're South Africa. So if you're the South African coaches, you're pretty happy with aspects of it, but you're disappointed with the amount of points that have been left out there. I thought Moyo has been pulling the strings pretty well, to be fair, for a debutant. I know he's played against the Barbars, so again, not his first time in the green and gold, but you'd be pretty happy with how he's been pulling the strings. Possession's been 57-43. Territory's been 67-33. It has just been all played down one end of the field. If you bought tickets for the other end, you'd be a little bit disappointed that you've not been able to see much action from that end of the stadium in Durban. Second half, they do bring the bonus point up the Boks. It's a poor Welsh exit, really. I think it's Thomas Williams' kick basically just goes straight up. You can't be inviting the Boks down your end that way. And Reinach combines with Kobus Wiese. Jaco Williams puts on the afterburners to get himself a debut try. It's always sweet when you see a guy score on debut. So very nice. Bonus point up, 26-0. And Wales, when they did have the ball down the box end or around halfway, largely seemed content to up and under, put little kicks through. I don't know. I mean, it's hard because you're getting swamped, and the box defense is very aggressive in that if you get anybody even partially isolated, you're going to get turned over. Like, there's a moment towards the end of the game where the Welsh have an attacking line out, they throw it long, and I think it's like a deliberately overthrown ball, gets it to both them, and he's just isolated for even a second, and I think it was de Villiers just got straight over the ball. You just got no time, so I can kind of see why they were doing it, but they weren't getting a lot of pay from that either. They did have a 47th minute 5-meter line out, which they overthrew, and it was like, there's your golden opportunity to get some points. But I think it was Wilco Low had a high. Was it Wilco or Wilco? Wilco Low had a high shot, which they meant the Welsh had a second crack at the cherry, 5-meter tap. Wales then knocked it over the line. Then they had an advantage. They tapped it again, and like back-to-back penalties, man. Like, it's the golden of golden opportunities. You will not get a better chance than this. The ref even says to Thomas Williams, can I have a word to the Boks players? Because he wanted to give them a yellow card warning. Thomas Williams said, nah, let's keep playing. Eventually, the Boks were able to win a penalty at the breakdown and get themselves out of dodge. To which point, he still did issue the warning to the Boks, but that kind of pressure had already been escaped. I guess they were trying to keep the tempo up, the Welsh lads, but that was as close as they got. Next, South African maul was shut down by Wales, which was, to be fair, a pretty good defensive set. And I was like, final 20 will be interesting because the Boks have just been squeezing, and you feel like it's going to explode. At some point, the Welsh defense is going to crack. It never really cracked. Like, we did get a yellow card warning for Wales on 58 because it was their turn to start conceding some penalties. We had a huge South African maul on 61, but it was held up. They did score a try a minute later anyway, because from the 22, from the goal line restart, Wales had gone for a pilfer, but it kind of bobbles forward, and then just down the blind side, the Boks go. Combination of Herschel Yankees and Jaco Williams combined for Yankees try, so extending out the scoreboard. But we're only at 31-0, and it feels like that's a bit low, just for the amount of opportunities that have been there for the Boks. Plus, we got the TMO on the horn for Ben Warren, the reserve prop, with an upright tackle on Marco van Staden. That one was always going to be a card. I'm pretty happy that it remained yellow. It was one of those ones where it's probably going to remain yellow. They'll find some mitigation, and they did. So, yeah, 15 on 14 in terms of guys on the pitch. South Africa, can they punish? Yes, they do. They go through some phases, narrow the Welsh defensive line with some carries up the guts, and then who better to spin the ball wide to Kurtley Arendse than Manie Libbok. His goal kicking ain't the best, but boy, he can rip a pass. So 36 points to 0. Icing on the cake from Paul de Villiers with a maul try at the death. So 43-0. So again, like 43-0, it's hard to complain about 43-0 because that's a heck of a scoreline. Like, I remember not that many years ago, well, Wales versus South Africa is going to be a grudge match. It's going to be an arm wrestle. It's going to be 5 points here or 2 points there or the boot of someone to make the difference. So 43-0. But yeah, let's get to some stats and you'll see what I mean. Like 22 entries. The Boks had 15 of them and scored 7 tries, which is un-Bok-like from the last 2 rounds in terms of the clinical edge. It's just missed chances. Turnovers conceded was 20 by the Boks. Very rarely do teams get into a number starting with 2 for turnovers conceded. It's a lot of drop ball. Even Wales had 12, and they didn't have that much ball. They had 42% of the ball. So Wales also under pressure, a few too many errors in that regard. Penalties conceded was 14-9. So the Boks kept their penalty count below 10, which is always a good sign. The Welsh scrum was getting pinged a few times, to be fair. Turnovers one was 5-2 to the Boks. Like, Paul de Villiers had 3 of those. The guy is a beast over the ball at the breakdown. Line breaks 12-1 to the Boks. Again, they'll just be... Again, I don't want to use the word disappointed, but they will be a little bit disappointed they didn't get more points. But it's hard to be disappointed when you got 43-0. Feel like I'm talking in circles over here. Defenders beaten was 26-7. So if you're Wales, you're looking at that on the flip side. That's missed tackles 26-7. So you didn't make the Boks miss many tackles. But if you'd have gone into this game saying, who's going to miss more tackles? The Welsh against South Africa or the Irish against the All Blacks? You would have thought the Welsh. but their overall tackle, like missed tackle count's lower than what the Irish had by a pretty big margin. So they actually defended not that bad for a team which conceded 43 points. Could have been a lot worse. Moyo, as like I said, pulled the strings pretty well. The Visa boys busted a bunch of tackles between them. Like of the 26 tackles that the Boks busted, 9 were the Visa lads, 5 from Jasper and 4 from Kobus. De Villiers 3 turnovers, one like I mentioned. Van Heerden was the top Bok tackler with 11. Alex Mann, we said he'd be in the side for his tackles. He made 16. Jack Morgan, 22. So, yeah, good atmosphere. Good result for the Boks. Good chance to blood some youngsters. I do think the Welsh will get better from playing a game like this because now you know where the level is at. Even if it wasn't a full-strength Boks team, you get better by playing a team like this and seeing what they can do and living with that pressure and living with that speed. So, yeah, that's the game. I'm off to watch maybe the Argentinians take on England next because I haven't seen that one. Don't know the result. Hopefully it's a good one, but this one was certainly an interesting way to start my Sunday morning. You guys let us know your thoughts on the game. If you're a South African fan, are you disappointed? Are you satisfied? Are you kind of somewhere in the middle? If you're a Welsh fan, obviously you didn't like to get nilled, but did you see enough in that performance? Dewey Lake was saying, he could see the heart in his team's performance. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.